What's up, YouTube? Hey, welcome back to another video on how to do it. We're going to finish up the fuel system here on EgoBruise. It's going to be awesome. Stay tuned. All right, so welcome to part 2 of the fuel system on Project EgoBruise here, a 1979 Ford Mustang Coupe with a 2.3 liter EcoBoost motor out of a 2015 Mustang. We are doing the fuel system. If you go back and watch part 1, we started getting ready. We ran the fuel pressure regulator, and I have ran some lines. I'm going to show you the lines I've ran, and I've also ran a fuel filter. And today we're going to be cleaning up, making ends, and finishing up the fuel system and wiring the fuel pump, and then hopefully getting everything ready to put gas into the tank. And in the next video, we'll be firing up this girl. So let me show you. Let's just get right into it. I'm going to show you guys what I have already done from then to now. In the last video, we ran the fuel line off the fuel pressure regulator. So mounted the fuel pressure regulator, ran the line to the Earl's fitting right there on the back of the motor. That's a high pressure pump. So we got the fitting in there going to the high pressure pump, and you can see here I've already ran loosely some lines here to figure out the routing and where they're going to go. The link's pretty good. We've got a -8 AN for the sending part, so the pressure part, and we have a -6 for the return, and we need to plumb those into the regulator. So we'll have a input into the regulator, sending unit to the regulator, and then the output here is already going into the motor. In part 1, we also converted the carbureted 79 gas tank to an EFI tank. The big piece of the puzzle here that I was waiting on to come in the mail, and in fact it's a really useful tool that I think everybody that's building a custom car should have in their shop. I've been borrowing my buddies, and I've used this exclusively on the car already, but I went ahead and just bought my own because I need it so often that I was borrowing it, returning it, borrowing it, returning it. I went ahead and just bought one because it turns out on Amazon they're not that much. And what this is a screw nut gun or a rivet nut tool. This thing works just like normal rivets, but you've got different threaded inserts in here for different sizes. So I want to make everything properly. I've already used these on different brackets. Like I use this up on the front radiator mount for the intercooler, and I use these on the mount that's holding the bladder tank or the overflow tank underneath the engine bay. So I got this kit so we can mount the fuel filter to the side rail of the car underneath it, and have it removable, have it serviceable. So I wanted to use something like this rather than have something that is just screwed in into the sheet metal. So this kit is going to be very useful, and I've got tons of other uses for it. But I also needed a clean way to mount the fuel lines underneath the car and keep them nice and sturdy, not move, not hang down. And most guys would use something like this. This is a rubber, P-clamp, if you will, and you could take it in with a, with a screw or bolt, or even like a sheet metal screw. Most guys use sheet metal screws, wrap this around the AN line and screw it in, but I didn't want these just randomly all over the bottom of the car, so I decided to do something. We're going to try something a little bit different, and this is something that I've purchased on eBay, and what these are specifically -8 and -6 wire loom ties or something like that, right? So the whole idea behind these is that you can keep the lines together, keep it from moving, so it makes it look pretty. That's all fine and dandy, but what I'm going to use it for, I'm going to actually undo these clamshells, and we're going to drill these out. But I'm going to drill these out, and what I'm going to do is actually use these on the bottom of the car with some of these nut certs here, smaller ones in this, and we'll be able to use this to clamp up against the metal and use these as a way to hold the lines to the bottom of the car in different areas to hold them up. Now what's unique about these, that they are shaped to fit a -8 and a -6. They look kind of small, but I have fit them around the hoses, and I think they're going to work just fine, and they'll be nice and tight. All right, underneath the car, I've got the lines just dangling, and this is why I'm showing you we need a way to hold all this stuff up. I'm going to tie a lot of these up probably to the side of the rails here. I chose to keep everything on this side of the rail, really just because that's the best way that I can feed the lines up to the engine bay properly. So right now, my job is just to tidy up all these lines. So I want to route them through the bottom of the car, starting from the tank and up. And I don't want to cut them shorter than they already are, because I don't want to run out of length and have to do some sort of a long extension. So I want these fuel lines to be pretty well perfect. But back here on the car, on the back of the fuel tank, I've got the seating unit here. We need to make a fitting for this to go up into our fuel pump coming out of the tank, of course. This one's already been made, and then once this is made, we'll be able to get the line length correct and then start routing it, starting from the tank and heading up that way and hard mounting it to the frame so that the lines don't go anywhere. All right, so I gotta make my fitting. I'm gonna go ahead, even though I ran this line already once or twice, we're gonna pull the dash 6 through so I can make the fitting on the tank end. So pull this through again. All right, man, that's gonna work out real nice. I went ahead and moved that clamp over a little bit just to keep it from binding there at the end, but it is really nice. It's gonna work out good. And while we're down here, let me show you the fuel filter. So yes, I said don't use sheet metal screws. That was the whole idea. Well, I used sheet metal screws. That's a trick flow. I believe it is a -8 going in and going out already. I do need to go ahead and put proper mounts on it, and that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do now because I've got the right tools to do it with.
Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were...
You know, I took a moment, okay, to raise the car up. And I told myself afterwards that why on earth did I take so long to do this? I had it up a little bit, but just take a second. Now that I got the subframe connectors on, I was able to get the car way, way higher. All right, I'm pretty happy how the fuel lines turned out. The majority of the floor line is done here, and I'm telling you, those little clamshell clamp idea that I had using the threaded inserts worked out really good. These things are super tight up against the floor. I don't have to worry about something catching on it and it falling down or, you know, getting caught. I ran it closer to the inside. You're probably thinking as you're watching me here, why are you running like that, man? Like, what are you doing, Mike? Well, I mean, a couple things. I thought it'd be better along the inner side of the transmission tunnel here to get it out of the footwell boards. Because I'm using the threaded inserts, I didn't want bolts sticking straight up through the floor. These will be coming out, and I'll show you in a second here, a little bit on the floor, which is not a big deal. But also, guys, I mean, there's no exhaust running on this side because it's a four-banger. The more you get into the car, I think the safer it is, but also just because the subframe connectors, you can't run them down the line like this. There just wasn't enough room down the line of the subframe connectors, but also you got the seat brace right here. I had to do something with that. It would loop around there. Now it's underneath the subframe connectors. You'd see it. You may get a jack on it and squish it. And then the same thing, if I tug it and hug it up against here, you would hit the cross member. Now, I could have ran it on the other side of the subframe connectors here, but if I did that, now again, you've got those holes going through there, and I would have to cross over down here by the front suspension to go up into the engine bay. To me, it just made sense to tuck it all up against the floor, but it looks pretty good. But it looks good. It's hugging the, you know, hugging the hump there for our axle, and it's running along this way. So now we're to the point where we can start terminating the connections. Now I stopped it here. I need one more connector, or one more clamp to go up against the engine bar down by the footboards here. Hold it up against there, but I need some more bolts. I'm actually out of the little M6 bolts, and the one I've got in here right now is actually too long. I'll show you that in a second. But I wanted to keep it nice and long so I didn't have it, you know, too short or too long of a line. This is why we had to pull this all out, because I need to now make connectors for it. So let's look at the connectors. So, as you can see here, my fuel pressure regulator, these are a -6 for intake. So you got the inside coming in here. This is where the fuel is being sent from the tank inside here, and it's coming out regulated through this line to the high pressure pump on the motor, and then on the bottom it does a return back to the tank. That's our -6 line here that will return back to the tank. But this has two -6, so it has an O-ring style, two AN style connectors here that go inside the fuel pressure regulator. That's a -6 on both sending and return, and on input, right? Send, input, return, whatever. In, out, return. They're all -6. So I got here a -6 O-ring adapter to -8, since we have a -8 coming out of the fuel pump. Now I get it, that's a lot of fuel, but hey, again, if I go E85, then I'll have plenty of volume for this motor. So I have -8 coming here, which will kind of just, you know, deadhead to -6, and then it'll be, of course, pressure rated. But I got this guy for it, so all we need to do is just take this O-ring connector off, screw this on, but I made a mistake. I've got a 45-degree -8 connector for this, and I don't know why I bought a 45-degree connector. I thought, I don't know, I looked all this stuff over, and I'm like, well, I got a -690, -6 straight, that makes sense for the bottom, for the return back to the tank. Another -6, flat return, straight, black. But I got this one. This is supposed to be my fuel inlet into the sending unit, or the regulator, but it's just, the 45 is not going to work. So let me show you what we got here. Yeah, so once that adapter's on, the 45 is just going to put it at a bad angle right up against this. It's just not going to fit. In fact, it's going to be really tight even with a 90, but this is not going to work. I got to get a 90 for it. So now I've got to order a 90, and I need to get some new screws, some M6 screws. Let me show you the inside. Let me see. So there's one of the connectors there, or one of the fuel line holders right there. It's not in the way at all, but you can see it is too long. So I need to get a shorter screw for it. The ones I have are too short. I need to get some medium sized ones that are like yay long. So I got one there. You can definitely see one there, and that's about perfect. You've got one tucked in there, and one somewhere back in there behind the seat. So they, oh my, do you see how quiet it is when I got in there? Hang on, look, hey, testing 1, 2. Oh my God, I got echoey. But then you get in here, oh, it's so quiet. It's so nice. I'll tell you, that lizard skin is awesome. So yeah, so at this point, the only thing I really could do, so since I got to order some more stuff, is start working on the electrical on the fuel pump. We got to get that ran. Yeah, show you what we got going on back here. Man, I was trying to show you what the audio was. Look how nice this plastic is. The car is in such just awesome shape. Look at these. You know, these visors are still squishy. I mean, they still look new, man. They're in great shape. Plastics are nice and bright red. These are, actually, I think I painted that. But anyways, that doesn't count. Look at that. I mean, they're still flexible, not cracked. The car's in great shape. But hey, remember the lizard skin? Yep. Let's see how well she's holding up here. Why am I doing this? Well, we're getting to the wiring, guys. We're doing the wiring to the fuel pump. Fuel pump wiring is going to be right underneath there. We're going to bring it around to there, somewhere around that plug right there, which is going to be where, well, you know what? Probably not. Let's use this existing hole. There's a hole right here. That's cool. And the wiring comes from the harness. From the Ford control pack harness. So we have a wire dedicated that will turn on and energize the fuel pump. The other side of the pump needs to be grounded. And that's really it. Man, look at the spare. Isn't it good shit? Look at that spare. That's a good looking spare, I tell you what. That's a nice spare. Yep. I like to find me something like this. Well, 5-lug. Make it, you know, useful. If you guys know of a 5-lug Foxbody spare I could fit back here, something that would get me home. If one of these guys, you know, had a flat, put down in the comments below. Let me know. I'd like to pick up a 5-lug spare for this. Assuming an SA95 would probably work. Possibly. Let me know. That's a tiny wheel though. Look at that. It's like a 13-inch wheel. All right, so we got a hole here. We got to get it to the fuel pump, which is of course on the top of the tank. Or this, you know, this car didn't have a fuel pump harness because it didn't have a fuel pump. But I've got a wire back here of this guy. And it's pretty long. See, we're gonna have to extend it though, but it goes right here, and I'm gonna try to snake this thing behind the plastics. See, I can go right there, you know. It doesn't have to be that hard. This should be okay. It looks a little on the tiny side, so we're just gonna try it out. Now remember, I'm running an air motive fuel pump. It's, you know, it's a pretty beefy, big fuel pump for this car. So listen, we're just gonna have to try it out. Worst case scenario, we can always run this to a relay, okay? And a relay is be handy back here because the battery's right there. I can easily run a circuit over here to the battery, put a relay on it, and put some heavier duty cable straight to the fuel pump. So you know what, I may just do that. I don't know, I may just do that. I'm still figuring things out. We'll figure this out as we go, together. We got wire. Fuel pump wire, yay. Oh my gosh, plenty of room. Well, I think it'd be wise to go ahead and do the, I said that like 3 times. We're gonna go ahead and run a relay. Why? Man, I think honestly, there's not a need for it, but why not? I mean, I've got, I think, some extra relays, and I've got some extra, you know, wire and stuff like that. And that way we just have enough amps. No matter what, we'll have a shit ton of power going to that fuel pump without having to worry about it. Because it is kind of a long run. I mean, you got to think about this. This wire is quite long. It's snaking all the way on this side of the car, and this side of the car, and all the way to the you know, to the fuse block over here. All right, hey, who wants to see my over-engineered wiring harness that I created for the fuel pump? Yes, it's over-engineered, but I decided to run a dedicated harness and wire completely to this fuel pump that isolates it from the factory wire that goes up to the front, just like we talked about. Let's start with the tank. So the tank, I've got a plug there. Oh, you can't see that, but yeah, I actually ordered the plug, you know, that clips into this style of tank for the fuel pump. Now I need to go ahead and wrap this with something. You can see that it's tight, but it is a 12 gauge wire, like you see here, that I purchased from Amazon. I like it because it has red and blue. Red and blue. It has red and black here, kind of tied together, and it's 12 gauge, so it's way enough thicker, and you know, than this thing will ever need. Because I think it comes with factory, probably like a, you know, 14 gauge or something like that. So this that's a 12 gauge wire, so it goes up through the floor, and I've got it poking up through here, which is the factory grommet where the fuel sending unit goes through. And let's just follow this up here. So I've got the red and black cable coming through here. The red cable goes to the output of the relay. The relay I decided to mount on the side of the box. I didn't want to see it. I I want to get it out of the way. Now I did make another purchase here from Amazon. Let me show you these guys. These are pretty damn sweet. So I got this cable from Amazon. Like I said, it's 12 gauge. And I also got this relay box. This is pretty cheap, and I figure I can use this for other projects, but man, check how beef this is. These are weatherproof or weather pack seals. And this is a 30 and 40 amp standard automotive relay. Yeah, these are really nice. So I've got this relay. I decided to rivet to the side of here, and it's got a removable harness. So yeah, we got the red wire coming out the fuel pump here into the output, which is the blue wire here on the relay. So I wanted to get dedicated power to this, which is a red wire that goes up through here into a fuse and into the bus fuse. So you can see here. So I've got dedicated power straight to the power terminal. The rest of the car is fed off this bus fuse here once the box is back in place. I'll show you that when it's all done. But that's the dedicated red wire. Again, goes through here. It has its own dedicated 30 amp fuse circuit into here. So that's the power input into the relay. The output's the blue wire that goes to the red wire down to the fuel pump. And for ground, I did some, over-engineering, crazy, dumb stuff that I do. But it's a black cable, of course. It goes into this stud. And this is also the black cable that goes to the relay. So the relay is now grounded. It has power and it has power output. And then on the inside, I've got a wire going directly off of that bolt that will snake into the battery itself. Actually, it snakes directly to these posts here, which are directly grounded from my ground cable. So anyways, yeah, over-engineered, way over-engineered. Oh, and the trigger wire, of course, don't want to forget that. So I'm using the ECU's fuel pump wire. This is what you can just run straight to the fuel pump if you wanted to. It's a 14 gauge. It looks like it's pretty thin. But anyways, it's of course going to the relay for the trigger. Okay, we got the wiring harness. So it looks pretty good. I've got it covered in the plastic shielding or sheathing. Don't want this stuff rubbing up against any metal. So that is the wiring harness to the fuel pump. We got power to the fuel pump. Of course, we've got the fuel lines back here ready to go. Fuel sending unit is wired up and ready to go. Just need to get the tank back up in place. And check this out. Remember how I've preached before how stiff subframe connectors are? I kicked this jack stand and it moved. And I was like, wait, what? There is no support back here. Only support there, and of course on the front K-member. But yeah, that just happened. Look at that. Pretty scary. I was looking at this, I was like, this car is sitting on 3 jack stands and it's not like it's wobbly, okay? It's not like it's teeter-totting, so I'm gonna put it back now because that freaks me out. But check it out. Dude, the wiring is done. So I like it because, again, you can't see it. There's nothing back here that says there's a wiring mess. There's nothing back here that says, hey, I've got a massive fuel pump harness that was home created back here and it looks janky and stuff like that. It doesn't. It's fine, at least in my opinion. I like it. And it's nice and tucked away. And I do like using these boxes, these plastic boxes, as mounting points. I did it on my 86 and I'm doing it on this one. I see why not. Plastic's easy to work with. It's a good area to mount and rivet things to. So on the side there, we've got, the busman fuse, the main fuse for the car. And we got the output, here, that cable that goes all the way to the front of the engine bay. And I've got grounds that go, obviously from here to the stud, and then I've got the ground. So it's grounded kind of everywhere. And I like using this strap here as a ground spot because these are tied straight to the frame of the car, to the floor of the car, not the frame, but the floor. So it gives me a good ground. That means the back of the car has a good ground, but you can also see this is the ground I was telling you about that goes to this stud here and, connects the wiring harness for the relay and for the negative power. Welcome back. It has been, I don't know, 3 months, something like that. Listen, man, I owe everyone kind of an explanation. I've got a lot going on in my life and this car and this channel has really slowed down. It's 2025 now. Yeah, we've passed Christmas, we've passed Thanksgiving, we've passed New Year's, and here we are, January 3rd, 2025, and I'm continuing on with the car. But this is gonna be a different year. We're gonna continue on. I wanna finish this car this year. You're all thinking, yeah, right, dude. Yeah, right. it's been slow going. I don't want to get too involved in my personal life, but trust me, there was a reason why this is slowed down and why this is going so slow, okay? Everything's good now. Let's continue on with this car, hopefully. Let me show you. So guys, I have found yet another difference on a 79 model versus all your other standard Fox bodies from basically 84, 83 and up. And it turns out 79 to, I guess, 83 has a unique gas filler. Yeah. So y'all got two gas fillers. You're like, why you got two there, man? Why you got one with a tag on it? Well, I'll tell you why. I was fighting this guy. This is off my 79. It's got a 4-bolt pattern here on the flange. And the thickness of this, I was fighting this. I got a new rubber steel put in the gas tank, and I'm sitting there fighting it, trying to get it in, and I lubed it up, and I squeezed it in no matter what. It turns out I had about this much clearance between all around the edge of this and the actual metal hole in the side of the gas tank. Now remember, this gas tank is out of a, well, it's an 86 and up EFI tank. So it's an EFI tank, right? And this is just way, way too tight. It was not gonna fit. As far as I could tell, they didn't even make gaskets, or at least I didn't look hard enough, but it doesn't matter. The point is the tank is, you know, it's a fuel injected tank. So I wasn't gonna go, you know, wallow out the hole, go find a custom gasket. Instead, what I did was jump on eBay and just purchase myself an 87 fuel filler neck here. And I got 87 because, you know, I knew it was gonna be fuel injected, and that's really all I needed. So visibly difference. I mean, look at the difference here in the size. So same shape, everything's same, but massive difference in the size. I don't know why Ford did that, but they definitely did. Difference in the cap too, looks like, possibly. But I always prefer to buy used, and that's what I did. So I bought a used one. You can buy these new. You can go out and buy yourself a new gas cap too. This came with the gas cap and the screws. And notice that is a 3-bolt flange instead of a 4-bolt. But like I said, I always like to buy these stuff used because I prefer OEM quality. It just doesn't matter, man. Every time I purchase a part for this vehicle, that has been aftermarket. Now I can't help it. Obviously it's a custom build. There's gonna be custom aftermarket parts, and there's just no getting around it. There's Chinese parts on it. But if I can avoid it and I can get an OEM part, like in this case, I just need to replace it with an OEM style Ford part. That's what I did. And that's what I prefer to do, just for the quality. So we'll clean this up a little bit, but we're gonna test fit everything. I'll need this, of course, to put fuel in it. This has been sandblasted, so it's cleaned up just a little bit. Cleaned up the flange here. I made sure to stuff something in both ends. I didn't want any sand to get caught up in anywhere in here, because that would be horrible to put this fine dust in the fuel system. But it's nice and clean and wiped down. We're gonna get it installed. Okay, the fuel filler neck is secure. It's in place. It's good enough for now. Again, all we're doing is just test fitting everything. This is all going to be redone. It needs to have the new little rubber dimples for it to stop it. So anyways, but it's in place. The next thing we got to do is go ahead and cut the lines and make the fitting. So what I have to do is drop all the fuel lines that we just made, and I went ahead and marked it and cut it where I think is going to be good. So that part is marked right there, and our return -6 is marked there. And I've also numbered, or at least I've put an arrow on where to cut it, just so you know what side to cut on. I hate to cut the wrong side of it, you know, it'd be too long or too short. Wrong side of the tape, excuse me. So what you do is just make sure whenever you put the tape on here, mark where the cut line is. So we'll pull this out, put it on the bench, and we'll put the fittings on it, put everything back in, and we're gonna test the pump, make sure the pump kicks on as it's supposed to, and that will wrap up this video. The next video, we're gonna put fuel in it, see if it fires up. Okay, so I got all the clips off. I used, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them, or 9 of them. Should be another one for 10 though. But this is kind of cool. So, and that's the return line. The return line, I didn't have to disconnect here from the back of the tank right there, or even from the bottom of the fender well, or around the axle hump, because this is a direct line all the way from the regulator to the tank. So because it's so long, I've got plenty of room here to just do it on the bench without removing it from, unscrewing it from the tank itself, which is kind of nice because the tank's up in place and kind of hard to get to now that the fuel filler neck is tying it all up in place. The standing one is removable because of the fuel filter, because that's in place on the side of the frame rail. I can unscrew this fitting and get this shorter hose, and we could put the -8 fitting on this guy where I've marked it here. So it's kind of handy. Let me put the fittings on and we'll put it all back in place. See that? All that trash came out would have gone into my injectors. Not cool. The -6. Now the -6, I'm gonna have to disconnect from the tank to blow it out. And I should for the return, because we really don't want this crap going back into the tank. I learned this tip from somebody online, I don't remember who it was, but put a piece of tape right on the fitting here. So now that the fitting is flush against the hose end, put a piece of tape around it. That way, whenever I'm screwing the fitting in, if the tapes or if the hose starts slipping off the fitting and push down, then I can have a visual reference of it. It's kind of hard to see when it's black like this. We don't want that to happen though. All right, I'm about to rerun the lines. I'm gonna put this adapter on. So this is an O-ring style adapter that comes out, into the fuel pressure regulator to the -8. We talked about this earlier, guys, you remember. Okay, but I'm putting it on. I went ahead and took off the -6 line. We're putting a -8 on to the input to the fuel pressure regulator. Does it fit? It fits. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's real nice. That's real nice, Clark. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's quite a bit bigger. Okay. Okay. Cool. Now we're ready to put the lines on, complete it up. Okay, let's see how this works out. So I got the -6 right here. Oh my gosh. -8 is perfect. Oh, imagine that. Oh, dude. Nice. This could not fit him any better. Sweet. Make sure you use non-scratch AN fitting tool so you don't scratch your fittings. Pretty engine bay. I need to remove these fiddle fart hinges. Are so badass, but they are kind of in my way. I got a little piece of block there to hold it up. Okay. But man, don't they look good. Look how nice they look next to these fittings. Okay. Perfect, guys. Oh my gosh. I like when things just come together. There we go. A little tight, we got it. No big deal. Check it out. Looks good. Looks really good. All the lines are tucked. The vacuum line is in there. Everything is where it should be. It's nicely routed underneath the booster. And yeah, I think it's gonna work out really good. I wish I filled in those holes. I need to find some grommets for those holes. I'm not too worried about it. Those grommets are there left in place. I left them open because I thought I might need more in-cab accessories and out. And I still might, but in the meantime, what I'll do is hopefully I could find an oval grommet that'll fit that back one. But man, that looks really, really good, guys. I think it's gonna work really good. I went ahead and put one of the ties here just because I thought it just fit the car around the brake booster line. And that completes the fuel system, man. That was kind of fun, not gonna lie. It's pretty cool, right? Huh? We gotta do one more thing before I let you guys go. Before I let you, go on, beyond, do whatever you want to do, okay? Go work on your car. Stop listening to me blabber, okay? But I want to check to make sure the fuel pump is kicking on. I don't want the fuel pump to kick on because there's no fuel in it. I don't want to fire up this aeromotive pump dry. So I went ahead and dropped the tank and I've unplugged it from the tank. Okay, it's right there. And I've got my multimeter set here. And what I want to do is I've got it set on the trigger. I want to make sure the trigger wire fires. I want to hear the relay click as well. There's two things we can do. The first thing I'm going to do is actually remove the relay that came with a Ford control pack, and we're going to put a jumper in it and just hear the relay click. If I hear this relay click, it's pretty confident that we're getting power, and then we can go down to the plug and make sure we've got 12 volts or relatively 12 volts because the battery is pretty well dead to the fuel pump without spinning the fuel pump over. And then we're going to make sure that it clicks on with the key. Now, Ford's control pack manual says for the EcoBoost motor here that the fuel pump is running anytime the key is on. I find that kind of weird, but that's what it says. So we're gonna try it and see what happens. So let's do that. Feast your eyes on this engine bay again. I hate showing this off, but I love showing off, but I just can't stop looking at it. Look how pretty it's gonna look, man. I love it. We've done a hell of a job on this thing. But this is where I've mounted the Ford control pack fuse box. Nice tucked away here. Underneath it, if I can get the box off, I've also put in, yes, it's a printout, okay, because it doesn't have it on the bottom like you would expect. But I'm going to put a printout here because it has a diagram from the manual with what is what. And to me, this is kind of important to know, especially if you're broken down on the side of the road. But this guy right here, JC4, is the fuel pump relay. If we find JC4 here, it says fuel pump relay feed 40 amps. And by the way, now that we're looking at this, it is rated at 40 amps if the relay is, and that wire that I was telling you was a 14 gauge wire. According to the fuse in here, the fuse is R4, which is right there. I'm sorry, R4 right here. It is a 40 amp relay as well. So apparently it's a 40 amp circuit, and we probably didn't need to use a second relay at all. So what did I do? Well, I probably created another point of failure. Yeah, but nonetheless, we're gonna pull this out. R4 is right here. Okay. And I'm gonna get a jumper, and we're gonna put these two leads together right there. Okay, jumpering. Jumper. I heard a click. I heard a click back there. Let me take it back there, see if you can hear it. Yep. So like I said, the battery's dead. We're showing 11.7. Just gonna ground it. Put the power here on the positive side. Yep, 11.75 volts to the fuel pump. All right, let's see what happens when we turn the key on with the relay instead of the jumper. Okay, I'm gonna do the same setup I had earlier. I'm just gonna ground it. And remember, did I tell you guys that I was smart enough to put in or dumb enough to put in a disconnect down here for the trigger wire so that if I wanted to not, pull the pump, keep it from running, I could. But like I said, it's just no single point of failure. Okay, let's see if you can see that. You can go to the key on now, see what happens. This thing just, as soon as I crank it, it drops to 8 volts. That battery is shot. All right, did you guys see it spike up? Did you see it? Let me review the footage. Okay, I reviewed the footage and it is getting some voltage, but the battery is basically dead. Maybe that's got something to do with it, but it is getting voltage on crank. So the manual does state, I'm gonna go through to look at it again, but the manual does state that it's only supposed, or the fuel pump's supposed to run when the key is on, not just cranking, but it's running when it's cranking. I'm assuming it's going to give it fuel while it's cranking, and then once it's fired, of course, the pump stays running. I'm probably gonna call Ford Tech Line Monday to make sure that's how it's supposed to work. I think it's working fine. It seems working fine, but I'm also gonna charge the battery up and make sure that that's not causing us any problems, because it probably is. This Optimum battery is junk. I'm tired of buying Optimum batteries. They do not stay charged. I've gone through more of them than I can count. You have to keep a battery tender on, really baby them, and I just not gonna do that. So we gotta get rid of this battery. I got a different battery put in here, something that's got more cranking amps, because as soon as I crank this thing, it dropped to like 8 volts, and it just loses enough power for the ignition, and the Dakota Digital gauge drops out. It's just a mess. So I think we're good though, man. Hey, I think this is it. Should we close it? Let's close it. Well, all right, Foxbody family. Hey, that's gonna conclude it. That concludes part 2. 2 or 3, I don't even know. Okay, it's just how little I shoot videos now. It's almost embarrassing. That concludes the fuel system for EgoBruise. Okay, what's next? We gotta make sure the engine fires off. I probably won't even put coolant in it. We're just gonna pop it off. Make sure we're gonna put fuel in the tank, and we're gonna pop it off. Then we're gonna drain the fuel. Then we're gonna dump everything, and then we're going to take the shop, or to the car to a buddy's shop. We're gonna power wash the bottom of it. We're going to clean out the bottom of it to start building the rear suspension. I'm gonna put a paint job of something on the bottom of it. I don't know yet what. I think I'm gonna use some SEM Easy Coat. It's like a dark gray, and it looks like an E-coat. Oh Jesus. Yeah, that. Okay. So I may use some of this on the bottom of it. Nothing fancy. Okay, we're not gonna go rubber coat. I don't like rubber coat. We're not gonna do lizard skin, but that's it. So we'll fire it up, make sure it works, and then start tearing it apart. I think the assembly, the test assembly, is pretty much done at that point, and we get to move on to actual final assembly and body and paint. Will it be 2 years? Maybe. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know. It might be 5 years. I hope not. Listen, I really do apologize for these incredibly long gaps in videos. I'm still doing it. I'm still making it. I am just battling other stuff and getting to this when I can. Okay, if this was my full-time job, it'd be different, but it's not. It's just a hobby of mine, guys. So thank you for sticking with me. If you have stuck with me for this long, I really do appreciate you, and I really appreciate you just being a part of this build, even though it's taking forever, really long time. Okay, listen, that's it. Hey guys, take care. Go work on your Foxes. Okay, winter's coming. It's getting cold. Wrap it up in the winter. Bring it inside, do things to it, get your garage heated up, whatever, okay? I plan on working on this. I'm still very excited about this car. I'm not burned out on it, and I love this car, and I cannot wait to get this thing built. It's gonna take forever, isn't it? No, maybe, nah, I don't know, we'll see. Thanks again, guys. Hey, follow me on Instagram if you'd like, okay? Go to howtodoula.com. That's where you go to get everything in one place. Okay, that's what I say every time. It's the same thing. Nothing's changed as usual. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time, man. Take care.